The laughter started small. It began as a ripple across the galactic conclave's lower observation deck, a snicker from a Vreth diplomat, a chittering from 3 Molluscan traders, and then, loudest of all, the booming, theatrical laugh of Commander Raxer of the Keth'dari Dominion. "Deathworlders," he said, the word dripping from his mandibles like something sour. He stood at the center of the deck, resplendent in his battle chitin armor, 6 limbs folded at ease, compound eyes gleaming with amusement. "They send Deathworlders as diplomats now. Has the Terran coalition truly run so short of real representatives?" The conclave chamber echoed his contempt back at him. 40 species, 200 delegates, and not one of them said a word in defense of the lone human sitting at the far end of the long obsidian table. Her name was Arya. She was not looking at Raxer. She was looking at her coffee, a small, battered thermos she had carried through 6 star systems and 2 emergency docking maneuvers. She was considering whether to pour a second cup or save it for the inevitable long night ahead. She poured the second cup. Raxer continued, emboldened by the silence. "I have studied your kind, human. Your planet is a catastrophe. Toxic atmosphere in pockets, gravitational stress that warps your skeletal structure over time, apex predators on every continent. And yet," he spread 2 of his arms in theatrical despair, "you did not evolve around these threats. You chose to stay. You built cities next to volcanoes. You swam in oceans full of animals that could kill you. You climbed the mountains that tried to freeze you dead." He clicked his mandibles, shaking his enormous head. Madness. Evolutionary stubbornness dressed up as courage. More laughter. Softer this time. Uncertain. Because Arya had finally looked up. She said nothing yet. She simply looked at Raxer with the calm, unhurried attention of someone waiting for a door to finish swinging open before walking through it. Raxer, unused to silence as a response, pushed further. "I led a scouting detachment through the contested rim 6 cycles ago," he said, louder now, addressing the full chamber rather than just the human. "We encountered a Terran outpost. 12 humans. 12. We were 47 Keth'dari, armed and equipped for full engagement." He paused for effect. "Do you know what they did?" "They didn't run," said the Vreth delegate quietly, almost to himself. It was not a question. "They did not run," Raxer confirmed, with the baffled outrage of someone who had never fully recovered from the memory. "They reorganized. In under 30 seconds. They used the terrain, rubble, shadow, a malfunctioning coolant pipe they turned into a smokescreen, and they held us for 4 hours. 4 hours. With 12 soldiers." He slammed a fist on the table, making cups and data slates rattle. It was inefficient. It was irrational. Tactically, they should have surrendered or retreated. The math was impossible for them. "And yet," said Arya. Her voice was quiet. It didn't need to be loud. The chamber had gone still the moment she opened her mouth, some ancient instinct in many of the species present suddenly paying very close attention. "And yet," she said again, wrapping both hands around her thermos, "here you are. 6 cycles later. Telling the story." Raxer stared at her. "I won that engagement." "Did you?" Arya tilted her head slightly. "You had 47 soldiers. We had 12. You won after 4 hours, with losses." She paused. "Commander, that's not a victory story. That's a warning you keep telling yourself so it feels like one." The chamber was very quiet. "You came here," Arya continued, setting her thermos down gently, "to make a point about Deathworlders being unfit for diplomacy. About humans being irrational, inefficient, stubbornly unsuited to a civilized galaxy." She folded her hands on the table. She had scars on both of them, old ones, long-healed, the kind that came from doing things with your bare hands that most species used tools for. "So let me ask you something, Commander. And I'd like you to think carefully before you answer." Raxer lifted his chin. Ask. The outpost on the contested rim, Arya said. The 12 soldiers you fought. After the engagement, after you won, she let the words sit in the air for a moment. Did any of them track you back? Raxer went very still. The Molluscan traders had stopped their chittering. The Vreth diplomat was leaning forward almost imperceptibly. Because, Arya said, her voice perfectly conversational, I've read the Kefdari after-action reports from that sector. All of them, actually. Your coalition was kind enough to submit them as part of the Border Transparency Agreement, Appendix 14C, which I helped negotiate. She smiled, just slightly. Funny thing about humans. We're very thorough readers when something catches our attention. She let that sit for exactly 3 seconds. 2 of your scouting posts in that region went dark within a standard month of that engagement, she continued. No distress signals. No wreckage. Just quiet. Your command logged them as equipment failures. She picked up her thermos again. Were they? Raxer's compound eyes were unreadable. But 2 of his secondary arms had shifted just slightly into a posture that the Vreth delegate, who had studied Kefdari body language for decades, would later describe in his memoirs as the position of a being who has just realized the ground beneath them is less solid than they believed. That is classified Kefdari military information, Raxer said, his voice carefully controlled. Yes, Arya agreed pleasantly. It is. She did not say anything else about it. She didn't need to. The implication was already in the room, floating above the table like smoke from that coolant pipe. The 112 humans had turned into a weapon, 4 hours into a fight they were never supposed to survive. Here's what I would like the conclave to understand, Arya said, addressing the full chamber now, her tone shifting into something measured and precise. Humanity did not evolve on an easy world. Commander Raxer is correct about that. Every single thing he said about Earth is true. We built next to volcanoes. We swam with predators. We climbed the killing mountains. She paused. And we did not do it because we are irrational. She looked around the room, meeting eyes, compound, single, multifaceted, whatever the species had given its representatives. We did it because surviving hard things teaches you how to survive hard things. It is not a philosophy. It is not stubbornness. It is cumulative competence. Every generation of humans that lived on that planet learned something the generation before had paid to learn. We didn't just adapt to our world. We studied it. We catalogued every predator, every danger, every environmental variable that had ever tried to kill us, and we turned that catalog into knowledge, and that knowledge into capability. She set the thermos down one final time. The Terran Coalition did not send me here as a warrior, she said. I am a diplomat. But I was also, before this posting, a 7-year veteran of Deathworld response units, rapid deployment teams that handle situations on colony worlds where the local environment is actively hostile to settlement. She looked at Raxer. I have evacuated survivors from a planet during an active volcanic event. I have negotiated a ceasefire between 2 factions while a Category 5 atmospheric storm was trying to kill everyone at the table. A faint smile. It did not succeed. She opened her datapad. Now. I believe we were here to discuss the contested rim border reallocation, the Kefdari mining rights dispute, and the proposed neutral zone for the 3 species currently in territorial overlap. She looked up. I've prepared a framework for all 3. It is, I think you'll find, quite thorough. Commander Raxer of the Kefdari Dominion said nothing. He sat down. It was the first time in the Conclave's recorded history that a Kefdari commander had sat before being formally invited to do so. The archivists would argue about the significance of this for years. Arya poured the last of her coffee, flipped to the first page of her framework, and began. Outside the Conclave's great observation windows, the stars burned on, indifferent and ancient, the same stars that had once looked down on a small, violent, improbable world where something stubborn had refused, generation after generation, to stop surviving. They were still refusing. They always would. The most dangerous thing in the known galaxy is not the largest predator, nor the most advanced weapon. It is the species that looked at everything trying to kill it, and took notes. Recovered inscription, Terran Coalition War Memorial, New Geneva.